My name is Kristen Brooks. I've had chronic Lyme disease for 22 years. I don't remember the tick bite. Most Lyme patients don't, but I remember clearly when the symptoms began. I attended college in Connecticut, the birthplace for the tick-borne illness. When I graduated, I'm pretty sure that I thought the world owed me something. Full of confidence, 3.9 GPA, I was ready to change the world. But then the slow onset of symptoms began. It starts with achy joints, major neck pain, and unreasonable fatigue. Every month I swear I'm getting the flu at least once, and then I get a really good night's sleep and wake up the next day feeling more normal. I remember a steady stream of troubleshooting, a schedule that rotated between appointments of chiropractics, physical therapy, massage, acupuncture, blood tests, neurotic supplement taking, and regularly asking doctors to just check my thyroid one more time. Often saying no to commitments or just showing up tired and late. They say I have fibromyalgia, then they say I have chronic fatigue syndrome, and I try my hardest to avoid medications. It gets better before it gets worse, which makes me think that I finally found the right combination between chiropractic treatments and, supplements. Lyme is sneaky and ruthless. It can lay dormant, and then it surfaces fiercely whenever physical or emotional trauma hits. I'll never forget the morning after Christmas. I was just 26 years old. I wake up in my one-bedroom apartment alone with indescribable head pain, vomiting uncontrollably, and in and out of consciousness. And I finally get to my phone. I call my dad. He races to grab me and takes me to the emergency room.
It was a dark place emotionally and psychologically, and it was an equally dark place, or more so physically, because you were in great pain.
And then after a lot of waiting and a bunch of tests, they send me home with Vicodin and say I have a cluster headache, which is one step up from a migraine. A couple days go by, no relief. I return to the ER, and an MRI detected a brain blood clot, traumatic brain injury, or an aneurysm that nearly took my life and should have. I'm in the ICU for 2 weeks with no logical explanation. For about a year, I rehabilitate back from that, my body traumatized by the pain, and weaning off of seizure meds, pain meds, and blood thinner meds. But still, all the same strange symptoms remain, and now they get worse. I come to accept myself as an uncomfortable, tired person living in pain. I stop talking about it. I deal with the symptoms as quietly as possible. But by now I've developed substantial brain fog and almost complete numbness and tingling in my hands and feet. I was nearing 37 years old, and I'm getting worse. Trying desperately to live a normal life, in pain, tired, confused, emotional, and alone. I'm learning that everything takes energy. Not just moving around, but things like processing sensory information, making decisions, staying positive, and being nice to the people you love. There's a lot of confusion and frustration that plays out when no one can see how depleted and sick you feel on the inside when you look okay on the outside. At 37, I'm mourning the loss of who I know myself to be and who I want to be, and this is incredibly humbling. Looking back, I realize I spent a lot of time faking feeling okay. Then one day, I'm at lunch with a girlfriend, a lunch that I almost canceled because I felt so achy. We sit outside in the fresh summer air, which should have felt great, but I felt like I was coming down with something that day, which wasn't uncommon. She and I had bonded over some similar physical hardships, and she had just been diagnosed with toxic mold illness, and I wanted to know more. Her words, frequent flu-like symptoms, echoed in my head, and I tried to hold back the tears. Shortly after my aneurysm, my one-bedroom apartment tested positive for black mold. So I'm like, is this me? Do I have toxic mold illness? Is this what's happening to me? I quickly Googled flu-like symptoms, and there are very few illnesses that are associated with this. Lyme disease is one of them. And I later discovered that about 80% of Lyme patients have severe mold allergy. After a string of blood tests and about an 11-month wait to get into the Sound Clinic in Denver, I finally received my diagnosis: neurological Lyme disease, chronic, with 3 co-infections. And believe it or not, that's when the journey began. I'm terrified and relieved all at once. Treatments begin immediately. They're awful and expensive, all out of pocket because it's ignored by the CDC until they can find a pharmaceutical for it. Tinctures, intense body detox methods, IVs, antibiotics. I get worse before I get better, and I'm not sure it's even working. My parents, my angels, they get involved.
You were looking for relief, and getting relief was all you wanted. You didn't want sympathy. You just wanted a solution.
They know I'm not normally a complainer, and they know that I'm slowly giving up on myself. My father nudges me to seek necessary second opinions from the Mayo Clinic and Anschutz UC Health. These efforts just rendered more confusion and fatigue. About a year after my diagnosis, my best friend calls me, as she regularly does. But this time she's calling to tell me that she's heard of something that's supposed to be awesome for getting rid of pain, called CBD. At this point, I've tried everything. I've mostly sacrificed my social life, stopped drinking. CBD once or twice a day was nothing. So give it to me. And I'm not talking about THC, I'm talking about CBD, the non-psychoactive component of the hemp plant that doesn't get you high. 5 years later, I've beat the odds. I'm in remission. I'm seeking my second lease on life. It's chronic, so I'll feel it surface a little bit now and then, but I know how to deal with it now. And CBD oil is truly the giant gateway for getting my life back. It greatly reduced my symptom picture, so I could have the strength to get through treatments day to day. I started CBD 5 years ago, and the first thing that I noticed was that I became vibrant again, without faking it, for the first time in years. I regained an energy that I'd given up on ever feeling again. The second thing I noticed was a mellow mood shift to a more lovable, patient, better problem-solving me. And the most impactful improvement that I experienced with CBD was the constant pain that I felt throughout my body, especially in my neck and my back. This result took a little bit longer to achieve, but it was the result of CBD's anti-inflammatory benefits. I emerged from a nightmare, very humbled by a struggle that I was sure would never end. The truth is, several times I almost gave up on myself. It can be hard to remember what a resilient person you are when you feel like a shell of the person you once were. And in the end, the world owes me nothing. I owe it so much gratitude for giving me a pardon from debilitating pain. The fact that many people endure much larger health hardships than I have isn't lost on me. I'm even one of the lucky ones. I wouldn't change anything about my journey, and I'm no longer ashamed of it. It strengthened me beyond measure, and my soft soul needed some toughening. Gratitude has a grip around me, and I hope it never lets go. I'm here to pay it forward and make up for lost time. I have a special message for those of us fighting a battle that most people don't understand. Don't give up. Follow your gut. Try your hardest to be your own advocate, and don't worry about explaining yourself to people who can't relate. You are not lazy, unmotivated, or stuck. You're exhausted after years of living in survival mode. After 17 years working in the medical industry, I decided to become a certified CBD consultant, and I started Healthy Not High because CBD has so many applications and a whole body healing effect. I'm helping busy families understand that so they can begin the journey from everyday survival mode to feeling better sooner. I invite you to follow my continued journey. Let's break the stigma of CBD through education, the science around it, the clinical utility, and how to navigate a labyrinth of unregulated information and product options. I'm Kristen Brooks, and this is Healthy Not High. Come join me on this journey and discover the power of CBD.